What's going on, party people in the house? Good morning to you. Football is back, Unk is back, and guess what? Your Texas Longhorns are back. Back on the practice field today. That's right, Wednesday, y'all. They get to go out on the practice field, and guess what? We as media members, we get a chance to go out there and check it out. And so you be expecting some practice reports from us today. We're probably going to go live a little bit later on today. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel if you have not done so, because when you subscribe to the channel, you get the notifications when we do go live. We'll go live today. We'll probably go live tomorrow. A lot that's out there. But speaking of live, speaking of all the way live, we got a chance to talk to the coordinators yesterday. In fact, we got a chance to talk to Steve Sarkisian's football staff yesterday. It was really good. Props to Sark. Props to Sark. You know, sometimes, people we in the media would say, man, we like to have a little bit more access. Of course, we like to be able to speak to more people. And Sark was like, oh, you want to speak to people? Y'all want to talk to somebody? Here you go. Y'all take all of them. And he literally gave us all. So he gave us all the coordinators. He gave us all the assistant coaches. And there's a lot to get into. There's a lot to dissect. There's a lot to unpack there. So one, props to Sarks, props to John Bianco for giving us that kind of access yesterday, because it was really good. It was really helpful. And there's a lot of things that were talked about yesterday that I really want to kind of share with you. And I'm just going to focus on the coordinators today. Coordinate. You know, son, sometimes you got to coordinate. But I want to talk about the coordinators. If you know what movie that is, props to you if you do. There was a lot of things that were said from the coordinators, and I've got some audio that I want to play for y'all from some of those things that were said, and I kind of want to break down some of the things that they talked about. We'll talk about Jeff Banks as well, and some of the things that Jeff Banks was talked about. I think he was really open and honest in that conversation as relates to the kicking game. I asked him about Jack Endries. And so there was a lot of things that Jeff Banks talked about that I found really interesting. And so I'm going to cue up this audio here. And yes, we're live. We are live. We are live. I'm going to retweet this so everybody knows that we are live. And yeah, there was some thought. I'll just be honest with you. There's some thought that was like, well, there's a thought about killing the morning show, but nah, we're gonna keep this thing rolling this season. So let me cue this thing up for y'all. Hold on one second. Y'all know how this thing goes. It's a one-man operation here. All right, so I want y'all to hear Jeff Banks from yesterday during our media availability. There's going to be some Q&A. You'll hear me in the background. I'll help you with some of the narration of
Jeff,
this.
Obviously, the kicking game wasn't up to y'all standards last year. Were there any shared characteristics, like in the punter and kicker, that you wanted at those spots?
No, I mean, I think we just see areas of improvement for this season being, net punting, field goal percentage, and penalties. I think those are the three things that we really, after diving back into it and looking and being removed from the game and the emotion of some of those situations. Hey, look, being a high-level kicker at this, not only this institution, but in high-level college football playoffs and then in the NFL, you got to make pressure kicks. And unfortunately, where Bert struggled the most was making those kicks. And so, obviously, we've acquired talent at both of those positions, and we hope that'll help improve both those areas. I think it will. A lot of maturity by both kids that are coming in as transfers, and so we're excited about them. And then the penalty piece is coaching. And, we pride ourselves on fundamentals and working on individual stuff. Sark gives us great time to do that. In some organizations they don't, but our head coach believes in it, and we drill it. And so that was a little disappointing to see us create so many penalties that we haven't in the past to take away some big returns. But those are definitely three areas of improvement for this year.
And just so y'all remember, and don't worry about it, y'all. I'm here. We ain't going nowhere. We 10 toes down. We locked in. Nothing to worry about. But so the issue, if you guys remember, that I kind of pointed this out one of the previous shows. Texas was ranked 15th in the SEC in the kicking game last year, field goals, and they were ranked 15th in punting. So therefore, because they've been able to go out in the portal, they feel like they're probably going to be a little bit better in that situation. But that was kind of, he talked a little bit about Bert Auburn. He's going to talk about Bert Auburn again in just a few minutes. So just hold on for this one as well.
You talked about high pressure kicks. Just curious, what about Mason stood out to you? Because I mean, no disrespect to the Sun Belt, but is that the SEC, so.
No, it's really not that. Really, what we look at is three things, right? Number one, we look at a guy who's got a proven track record, regardless of what school he's at and what environment he's kicking in and those things. Meaning he's made and has a high percentage of made kicks in college football, regardless of the conference. Number two, we look at leg talent and the ability to, let's face it, the kicks that Burt was missing, for the most part, were over 45 yards. And so we knew that was going to be a pressure point if we kept getting in that situation. Unfortunately, it reared its ugly head. You can solve a lot of it by just scoring a touchdown, but unfortunately, we got in those spots, and we got to make them.
So the only thing that was interesting, that I thought was interesting when he said that, and I do appreciate his transparency. The thing that I found interesting when he said they knew that if they had to go over 45, that was going to be kind of an issue. The only thing I thought to myself is, well, if y'all knew that was an issue, then why didn't you go to Will Stone earlier? Hindsight being what it is, I'm sure you're trying to say, all right, let's just see if he can kick his way out of it or he could be a little bit better. But it's very interesting that he kind of admitted that they knew once they got into a certain yardage situation, it probably was going to be an issue for them. And he said it reared his ugly head, but there was shorter kicks that Burt Auburn missed as well. So anyway, they went out to the transfer portal. They got Mason Shipley, he transferred here from Texas State, the party school down south. That's where Tex Blonde sends her child, and some of you other people do. But anyway, let's continue more with some Jeff Banks stuff.
And that's on us, and that's on me as a coach. But we look at leg talent and the ability to make kicks longer, between that 45 and 55 range, which we knew, we were gonna struggle with that consistency because that was just something that wasn't a strength of Burt's. And then third, we look at a guy that we feel like can come in and make it at this level, right, in this arena. And Mason's got a great disposition. He's just a mature kid, really a man that has a very good demeanor about him. And, we'll learn more about him as we go through training camp. We've had a good summer with him. And now him and Will Stone will both compete. And I think Will's a lot better than he was a year ago just from going through all of this. And going through the end of the season the way he did. He stepped up in that Ohio State game and did a nice job making his PATs and kicking off very well for us. So, we feel great because we got two guys that we feel like, have that leg strength and that leg talent and that have some experience that can put us in a better position than we were last year.
Coach, you've had a lot of success in the tight end room. Talk about what you saw in Jack Andrews and bringing him in here. Talk about the other guys in that room.
Yeah. Well, I think what we were looking for, right, was to add one player with a lot of experience because we lost between JT and Gunner in the last 3 years. We've lost like all of our reps at tight end. And then Juan being a really nice number 2 last year. And so it's like 98% of our reps at tight end are gone with Juan and Gunner leaving. So we really were like, okay, we need to add one guy. I think all of us have a lot of confidence in Spencer Shannon and Jordan Washington coming back. And we have, for different reasons, right? For different reasons with both guys we feel really good about. But Jordan got hurt early in spring. And so that kind of thwarted his progress. We bring in Amari Winston. He had a really nice spring. Now we have Nick Townsend coming in, and all of a sudden it's like we're a lot more versatile. So, like, as much as we lose Gunner, a great player, he had a phenomenal year last year. Now it's like, wow, we have all these different body types. And, like, we may be in a lot of different personnel groups and 12 personnel a lot of different ways, because Jack Andrews gives us a proven pass receiver, and then he gives us a physical blocker in the box that's not necessarily the biggest guy. And so that's what we were looking for in the transfer portal, was someone like that could mess with our team and fit our offense. And when we saw him playing at Cal, he was sliding back, he was inserting, he was doing a lot of the things that we do in the run game. And then you see him vertically, get past defenders, and you're like, okay, sweet, we get a big-time pass receiver that can block. And so we are really excited about just all those new players, believe it or not. Jack, Amari, and Nick. It's going to be interesting to see. Some of these guys haven't had pads on. You don't really know yet till you get that. I don't want to, put the cart in front of the horse. But certainly those 3 guys can catch the football, and they can get vertical. And I'm excited about kind of how this fall camp.
Well, you'll never know the end of that sentence, apparently, because it got cut off. So, but that's okay. That's all right. but he did talk obviously about Jack Andrews and Texas has been really fortunate for the tight end position when you look at they're basically having two guys that were draft picks over the last couple of years. And one of the things that he pointed out, it was interesting, when he talked about going to Andrews, and it wasn't in that audio clip, but they said that they basically didn't have anybody with a whole lot of experience, especially with Ron Davis being gone, just even him as a complimentary role. So getting a guy like Andrews, they said they only wanted one tight end, and they wanted some guy who had experience, and that's what Andrews ended up being, for them, as a person that was able to, now come in. And again, he can get vertical, which he can do. He's got, like I say, he's got a little quick twitch to him. So, you have some lot of optimism from the tight end room as relates to Andrews. Just a couple other things that he mentioned that I want to kind of make sure we talk about from, just take some mental notes here. He was asked about rotating guys who would basically be on his punt and kickoff returns. The three names that he said are going to be DeAndre Moore, Ryan Niblett, and Travion Wisner. And essentially, he just likes that those guys are more veterans. And so because they have so many young people in the room, and it's a situation like this, you'd rather just lean on some of the older veterans that you can trust. And so, Moore, Niblett, Wisner are going to be those guys. Now, I didn't say which ones are going to be which. We'll go out to practice and maybe we'll have an idea of it. But you've got to imagine someone like, Moore or Niblett is going to be your punt returners, and, Wisner probably on kickoff is probably what that ends up looking like. But anyway, that happened there as well. He was asked a little bit about some of his core special teams players. Warren Roberson, Ryan Niblett were two guys that he just was gushing about, said they were phenomenal last year, and called them the glue at the middle and the end of the season. So again, just that's from a special teams perspective. And then there's also guys like, Xavier Black, Kobe Black, I apologize. Xavier Filsami, I believe I've been saying Filsame. I believe he said Filsami yesterday. So I got to get the pronunciation on that last one. Grayson Littleton, Bo Barnes, Cade Phillips. And I heard Cade Phillips' name a lot yesterday. As a young guy, who probably more so in that special teams role, has a potential in the future to be in that DB cornerback rotation. But right now, more than likely, his home is going to be on special teams to get a start out, and then kind of going from there. And I'm trying to see if there was anything else. And nothing else that I think was super like I like you have to know. I think those were kind of the main things that you need to know from Jeff Banks. But the only thing that I found really interesting, I kind of asked him a big picture question outside of just the minutia of the special teams. I just kind of wanted a big picture and asked him, like, hey, so how do you guys go from, a semifinal team to a team that kind of breaks through? Because, we know what Texas has done the last 2 years. We know what the expectation is. It was interesting because his answer to me, he said, he goes, he's like, I don't know. He told me, I think we have a younger team and we got to catch up quickly. Our urgency has to be at the highest level. And I can't really look that far down the road to know how that will all play out. I just know we have a very difficult opponent in game one, that we have a very difficult SEC schedule, and who knows what those teams will look like when we get there. So basically, he just said they can't really talk on it, but they feel like they're kind of gunning to try to win a national championship. So that was it, and maybe that's a better question for Coach Sark. But I did want to kind of throw a big picture question at him as well. So we were able to kind of get that. I want to make sure I didn't miss any super chats as I was looking down. I did not miss any. Hit the like button if you can. Now I'm going to get into a little bit now as we go into that. I gave you some Jeff Banks audio. And I'm going to give you a little bit of Kyle Flood, the Flood man, and what he was able to say and what the things that he said yesterday as well.
What's the state of the right tackle spot? Is that going to be a camp battle? Can you talk about kind of what's going on?
Yeah, definitely going to be a camp battle for sure. We've got a couple guys who have been playing there in the spring, and Andre Kojo and Brandon Baker, who have done a really nice job. I think both those guys have changed their bodies, improved their skill sets. And, we'll figure out in training camp how that all plays out. But I think one of the advantages we have is we're going to play against a really talented edge group in training camp. So I think these guys are going to get challenged on a day-to-day basis. And, I know it's going to come fast, but, right now we're at the beginning of it. So, both guys are going to go out and compete, and we'll see how it plays out through training camp.
Kyle Neto has, been a four-year guy. He's now the fifth guy, I guess, in that 2022 recruiting class to get a chance here to start. What are you seeing from him? What stands out about him, and what do you like most about him?
Yeah, I think Neto had the best spring of his career for sure, which is what you would hope. It is what you would expect. And you're right. Like, to speak to what you kind of said, we're fortunate in that we have to replace 4 starters, but we also have some guys in the program that have been with us for 3 and 4 years now, who've been in our system, who kind of know what our expectations are, and they've improved. And again, I'm excited to see him in training camp. You go through the spring, and then in the summer we're only allowed to watch so much. So there's a lot of improvements that are important that you make in the summer, but we don't always get to see him as coaches. So when we get out there tomorrow for practice 1, we'll have a really good gauge of kind of how we did this summer for sure.
How ready is Cole Hudson to be the quarterback up front?
How ready is he? Oh, he's absolutely ready.
The question is about Cole Hudson being ready.
We've got some depth at that position between Cole and Connor Robertson, both guys who've played a lot of football here. So I've got a lot of confidence in both of them. But is Cole ready to do it? He's absolutely ready to do it. A really, really smart player, been in our system for 4 years, has played a lot of center in situations you guys haven't seen in practice, which similar to Hayden Connor. Nobody had really seen him play in a game until we got to the Clemson game last year, and he did a really nice job for us. But I feel like Cole's absolutely ready for that.
Kyle, Trevor's still a young player. Where's his biggest room for growth?
Well, I think Trevor's had a really good summer in building his body.
But I'll just go back because
to the Clemson.
The question was about Trevor Gooseby, and does sometimes you probably couldn't tell just because of the editing portion of it. But that question about Trevor Gooseby, let me back this up for y'all and see where it can go.
A really, really smart player, been in our system for 4 years, has played a lot of center in situations you guys haven't seen in practice. Which
I see your super chat. I got you, dog.
Nobody had really seen him play in a game until we got to the Clemson game last year, and he did a really nice job for us. But I feel like Cole's absolutely ready for that.
Kyle, Trevor's still a young player. Where's his biggest room for growth?
Well, I think Trevor's had a really good summer in building his body. When Trevor was not. Offensive linemen come to you in all different shapes and forms, and some guys get here and they're maybe a little too big, and we lean them up a little bit. Other guys like Trevor were really lean, and we've kind of built him up, and now he's really like he's moving as well in his body as he's ever moved. So I think that, because I think your strength catches up to you in terms of your height and your length and your weight, and I think all that stuff has kind of come together in a really good way. So I'm excited to see kind of how he starts.
Yeah, I think we're all excited to see about Trevor Gooseby and what he does, in this training camp and going forward. I mean, we've talked a lot about him, but it's time for him to do what he does and do what he can do, right, and live up to some of those expectations. But y'all know I've been a huge Trevor Gooseby fan before he ever stepped foot on campus and before he ever stepped foot on a playing field, because you tell me all I need to know. If you tell me your offensive lineman is one of two things. If you tell me your offensive lineman is a wrestler in high school or played basketball in high school, say less. Say less. If you can do any of those two things at a good level, high level, and you show me a basketball guy who can dunk, that was it. That's all I needed. I already know. Okay, the footwork is going to be there. The agility is going to be there. They filled out his body. It's good. So we're looking forward to that. And again, they replaced some key guys they got to replace some key guys on the offensive line. The question mark becomes, once you get past Kelvin Banks, how far of a drop off is it really to replace some of the guys that they lost, right? That really becomes the question. I got you, dog. But how much of a drop off is that really going to become? And let's say, but I would say this: if Kelvin Banks is here, right, it's not to me that Trevor Gooseby's here, right? And you're just saying to yourself, let's hold on for dear life. I mean, it might be just right here just based off the kind of the playing experience. And look, Kelvin Banks is killing it with the Saints at this morning. Now, by the end of the season, could Gooseby be right here? Very, very possible. I'm not going to say, oh, he's going to be right here, because now you're talking about maybe a top 10 pick, right? And I don't going to put that on a young man, but could he be as equal a level to that? 100%, man. So excited about that. Money B, you asked me a question, and you asked, no, because on my show, Money B, if y'all put money in for the questions, I like to get to those things quick. Like I'm like a televangelist. I want more people to donate. So, Money B, I try to get to your questions as quickly as possible. I'm like, come on, I need some more donations. Money B says, hey, name one player that we aren't talking about now that will have a buzz after fall camp. Money B, I'm going to tell you, the name I kept hearing a lot yesterday when talking to these coaches was actually Warren Roberson. Like that is he's competing for playing time, in there. Not only what Jeff Banks said about him from a special teams perspective, which, by the way, you got to do special teams in order to get on the field. But even when I talked to the DB's coach, he talked about, Robertson has this really good natural ability to play man coverage. And you talked about him really being a good tackler. And so, he talked about, like, hey, he's got a lot of natural skill set. That doesn't necessarily mean, Money B, that he's the starter, right? I'm not saying that, but I think he's a guy that you'll walk out of here saying, okay, not that bad. Like that's pretty good. If you're looking for a starter, though, a guy we don't talk a lot about is Trey Moore. It's a weird thing. Like, we know he exists, and so there's no disrespect there, but we don't really talk about him a lot. But he's a guy that you expect. Here's another one. Okay, I got it. I've talked myself into it. I got it, Money B. I got you. Hero Canoe. Hero Canoe is going to be the guy. There it is. I had to talk, and I'm sorry it took me a second to get to it, Money B. Hero Canoe, defensive lineman, transfer from Ohio State. That's going to be the guy. That's who I got my money on, Money B. He's a guy that a week or so ago, whenever I was in Atlanta for SEC Media Days, I think it was like 2 weeks ago. I don't know. It's starting to all run together now. I got so many things going on. Anthony Hill, I asked him about, hey, about the interior of the defensive line, and he identified Hero as one of the leaders on the defensive line. That's what he said in his words. Like, Hero was one of the leaders. So I talked to Kenny Baker yesterday, and I asked him about that. And he was like, oh, man, this guy has really, really emerged. Like, he says he's a guy that understands that in order for the line to do well, that everybody else has to be on that level, and everyone has to be in unison. So he's encouraging people not out of that rah, beat your chest thing, but he's saying, like, look, if we're all good as a unit, because we're all going to rotate, then this thing is going to be really good for all of us, for the greater good. And so Hero is a guy, and that's my money. That's where it is for me. Hero is going to be the guy I think that no one's talking about, but when we get to the end of camp, it'll be the person that I think a lot of us are going to say, oh, snap, okay, here we are as far as that is concerned. So Hero Canoe is going to be my guy. All right. Thank you, Money B. Thank you for that. Appreciate that. El Presidente is back. What's up, El Presidente? El Presidente dropping 20 spots on me. All right. On war. No, I think he just put too many R's in there. That was that movie that was like Byron. Y'all remember that movie? What movie was that called? What was that? Anyway, someone put it in the chat and remind me. Onward, what's your biggest concern in 2025? Mine is a QB spot. 2 starts in the last 2 years. There will be some growing pains. Okay, if you said my biggest concern. Okay, biggest concern. I mean, my biggest concern isn't that Medea. Which Medea was it though? Which one was it though? My biggest concern isn't necessarily. It's. I mean, my concern is what's behind him. I can tell you that much. I have a huge concern about what's behind him. You know, look, I mean, at the end of the day, and I talked to AJ Milwee about this yesterday. And look, and he's the one that said it, not me. Texas hasn't had enough luck keeping quarterbacks healthy, for an entire season, and so that's one of the reasons why they went out and got Matthew Caldwell from Troy in the transfer portal, just to have that depth behind them. I'm a little concerned that they felt the need to do that after the spring. You know, I feel like they could have done that in December potentially, and maybe they don't want to do it in December and risk Trey Owens going in the transfer portal, so they wait until the spring to do that. You know, maybe there's clearly some logic that could be behind that, right? But I think what's behind him, that concerns me. Like if Arch has to miss, a half because he caught a cold in the middle of the game, right? I don't like to use the other words, right? I know you're not supposed to be superstitious, but sometimes I am. If who's behind him, I think that's a concern for me. Run game is a little bit of a concern for me. I did a video on that yesterday. I think the running backs are good. I haven't seen elite yet. Elite, I'm talking top tier kind of thing. Which is the goal. I haven't seen elite yet. I've seen good. So what that looks like from a run game perspective. Do you have an elite back on the roster? Can CJ Baxter stay healthy? I think that's a concern for me as well. I don't really have many concerns on defense. I feel okay. Not overwhelming concern about the receivers. Not overwhelmingly concerned about them. But I would say what's behind Arch is a huge concern for me. And then just a little bit of the running backs. In the SEC. Look, we saw what happened in the Georgia games. You got to have some elite backs that can get it. Now, look, Georgia also went in that game, and they were just playing bully ball, and they just, I talked to one of my friends about this this morning. And Georgia just said, we're just going to come here and just man up and smack you around. So it's a little bit of difference there. I would say those two things are kind of mine. Arch, though, I mean, to your point, El Presidente, Arch, he does have 2 starts. In the first game of his, of this season is going to be on the road at Ohio State. He has to go into the swamp, right? He's going to have to go into Georgia. So there are some hostile things, and there will be some growing pains. Like, I don't expect Arch to throw 5 touchdowns and no interceptions in every game. Like, there's going to be those issues that are there. And so I would say those that would be there as well. Okay, look at y'all. Shoot, we got PK on deck, but Money Talks and BS Walks. So we'll go ahead and keep going through these super chats. We got RC7842. I wonder what that stands for. What kind of burner account you got going on, RC? Now, you my dude. RC says, hey, watching Aaron Butler high school tape, he looked like the next Worthy. Obviously, we're deep with young wide receivers. Any chances he sees the field at a punt return, a kick return at least? No, he hasn't been labeled as far as that is concerned, because Jeff Banks already said who his guys were going to be when I mentioned that it was going to be Wisner as one of the guys, Ryan Niblett and DeAndre Moore. So he didn't mention him in that mix. And I just be quite honest with you, there are guys ahead of him that on the depth chart at this moment. Let me see if I can find Alex's recent depth chart. I think I've had that and I've used that before for y'all. Let me see if I can find it in a timely manner. If I cannot, then the show must go on. But I think, let me see. So let me put this up here real quick for you, RC. This is where Alex Dunlap, his depth chart was. He's behind a lot of guys right now. Now, this is projected depth chart, but he's just kind of behind a lot of guys right now. And just to keep it a buck and to keep it up 100. Yes, he had a lot of hype and everything coming out of high school, but we're at a point in Texas when you get here, man, you could get passed over pretty quickly. So it may be some time. He just may need some more time to grow and develop. But right when you start thinking about the guys ahead of him, the Khalid Lockett's, the Jamie French's, these are 5 stars who are coming in. Emmett Mosley is there. Parker Livingstone is developed. You got DeAndre Moore. It's kind of like, well, where do you fit in? Within that equation, and it's just tough. It just is. You've got a program. You've got rich people problems, first world problems, which is you've got people who were really good in high school, but it's almost kind of like this is almost like the Bama that we saw under Nick Saban. Yeah, you was really good in high school, but you got some killer dogs out of here now. And unless you really, really are ready to take that next step, you either got to sit and wait or you got to find, opportunity somewhere else. So let's see what happens, but no real buzz on him, as of this moment. And when am I coming back to H-Town for a happy hour? I don't know. I haven't been to H-Town in a little bit. I think my kid may have had a soccer tournament or something there recently, but just the chill and everything, I ain't single no more, so I don't go to H-Town. I don't go to H-Town. H-Town was good for a single guy, that's for damn sure, but I don't need that smoke right now in my life. And by the way, Danny, you asked about a depth chart. Somebody asked about a depth chart. Depth charts have not been revealed as of this moment. Official depth charts. The official depth chart probably won't come out until the week of. So I would say you probably won't expect an official depth chart. Potentially that Monday or Tuesday of game week when Texas plays against Ohio State. Or it's a possibility you may not get the depth chart until the morning of the game. Those are just two possibilities, but they won't release a depth. It's not like the NFL where they release a depth chart a little bit earlier and anything to that effect. So Coach Top, man, I don't talk about the personal life. That man, I've been booed up for the last 2 years, man. I ain't out in them streets, man. I'm not. But y'all, you gotta hear me, man. Everybody, people watch the show know, my girl lives in San Antonio. But anyway, we too far. We're too far. Top, focus. Y'all do this thing to me, squirrel, and then I'm off the. All right, let's do PK. Last one. Let's do PK. Pete Witkowski talked, and he had a lot to say yesterday. So let's get into what he had to say.
You've had a lot of success with the interior of that defensive line over the past couple of years. You got a lot of new guys, though, that you guys brought in. So I know you haven't put on pads yet, but what have you seen from some of those transfers?
The buy-in, the want to, attention to the detail, doing all the little things right that has nothing to do with football. They're all been really good. Had a really good off-season, good summer. We got some talented guys. I think we got good depth there. I think we got really good depth there, better than last year. We'll see, how we perform and how productive we are. But we really like what we got.
PK, what kind of prompted the move of Trey Moore to the outside line?
It's a combination of trying to get him.
By the way, if you couldn't hear that, the question was what prompted the move to get Trey Moore kind of from that line spot to the outside linebacker. I'm going to rewind that just a little bit, so you'll catch the last part of him talking about defensive line, and that question's about Trey Moore. I just know sometimes with reporters and the recording devices, you may not hear the question.
And how productive we are, but we really like what we got.
PK, what kind of prompted the move of Trey Moore to the outside line?
It's a combination of trying to get him on the field. Let's back up. It's more about, at the next level, right? He's that inside backer, pass rusher type of a player. And so we know he can play off the edge, right? And so we needed more depth, right? And it's from a team standpoint, we needed a guy as inside backer. For his growth, it's going to be really good for him to be able to play inside backer and get the eye control, the keys and reads down for his potential future. But it's really, the bottom line is, that's the one area on the defense where we feel good about our depth, but in the game of football, injuries happen, and it could get real thin real fast if guys get hurt. And so it's a combination of those two things, his personal growth and then helping the team.
PK, how would you assess some of those D linemen interior that you brought in individually?
Who stood out? Like, Alex is as a red shirt. As a true freshman, his growth has been good. He's still got stuff to do and get better at, but his growth has been good. Cole Brevard's a big dude. It's hard to move. We got the two. We got Watson and Murad and Levon. We haven't seen them. They got here after spring ball. Who am I missing there? Oh, Hero. Hero's been awesome. Hero's been really good. And then, so between the transfers and Alex, we feel good about those guys. It's hard to say who's going to be the starters. We really don't know. It's going to come down to how they perform in camp, and they're all going to play. Yeah. I think they all got the want to, and they're conscientious about the things that are important. Right? They play with good effort, and they care. So we'll see as we work through this August.
And by the way, Bunny B, you did hear him mention Hero, so there you go.
Besides defensive end position, you got Burke and Colton Bosick, and it seems like
it's yeah. So we got Burke. We got a bunch of guys that can play that. Burke's coming back. Colton's back. Zena had a really awesome spring. Awesome. He's going to play. He's going to be a guy. And then Justice Terry's out there also. So we got really good depth at the edge position, especially the jack.
Could you talk about the competition at corner to play opposite of Manny Muhammad?
Yeah, it's you got Manny, you got Jalen Gilbo, you got Kobe Black, and then Warren Robeson is had a really good spring, and so those four guys are all competing, and then. Cade Phillips, the true freshman, had good spring, and like to see how he progresses. But it's those guys, and again we'll see after we get through camp.
What other freshmen have opened
Uncle
your eyes?
Mickey. Yeah, listen, PK, he's a football coach, man. You ain't. PK ain't gonna be charismatic or anything like that. So you just gotta bear with him. He's just a ball coach, dog. That's what he is.
Yeah. We talked about Jonah, Cade. Justice is physical. Plays with good effort. Let me think. Those are the guys that stand out to me right now.
Other than Tad, who are your vocal leaders on defense?
We got a lot. Jelani's gotten a lot better. Gilbo is good. Backer, you got all. Trey's, that's a big improvement for Trey from last year. Ty Anthony does a great job at it. We got a lot of guys that. They bought into the importance of it and how that settles everybody down, and it helps how they
I tell you this much though, Terrence is right though. Terrence is right because listen, we were all entertained by Vance Bedford, and Vance Bedford is a friend of the show. Vance Bedford usually pops in during the season, and we love to hear his cat stories and dog stories, and that was fun to listen to. But when it was all said and done, it didn't really matter. And we listened to Todd Orlando, and the defenses were good, but yeah, and PK. He might it might not be the thing that you say, you know what, I gotta go and watch Pete K. But to your point, everybody's point, if this defense balls out, who the hell cares? He can sing Dixie for all we care. As long as he balls out and his defense balls out, who the hell cares what his voice sounds like? So y'all ain't not wrong. All right, listen. Apparently, I went over a little bit, but it's fine. It's football season. Y'all are back. And I appreciate it. I appreciate the support. So today, like I said, it's Wednesday. So football practice begins. We'll be out at practice today. I'll be back tomorrow. I think I'll be on live sometime later this afternoon or late this afternoon when we go live after practice to kind of discuss the first day. So make sure you hit the subscribe button. We're over 50,000, y'all. Over 50,000 subscribers. We are blowing it up. So make sure you hit subscribe so you know when we go live. So this way you don't have to just sit around. You'll just get like a little email notification that goes into your email box. And then like, oh, snap, they're live. Let's see what happened in practice today. Also, I'll be back tomorrow, and I'm going to talk to you guys about what I was able to see at practice, what I was able to gather from watching practice. So I'll be back on Thursday morning. The show will continue. They thought, there was talks about canceling Unc, and that's why that's the real reason why I didn't see me a lot in the summer. It was just kind of playing to see what does it work if I'm not on the show, maybe I do pop on the noon shows or not. And at the end of the day, we just said, man, we're gonna be 10 toes down. We're gonna do this again. We're running it back. It is what it is. So y'all will see me every single morning. It may not be called the old-fashioned show. It may just be called Orange Buzz Live, and y'all just know you'll see me at 9 o'clock in the morning. And I don't necessarily know if we need a show name per se. All you need to know is that I'm going to be here delivering you as much content, insight, and hopefully sometimes a little bit entertaining as possible. So I will be back. Until then, man, y'all take care. Enjoy your day. I'm super excited. Football is back. Remember, I'd always say, live each day like it was your last, because one day it will be. So go out and do something absolutely special for yourself. You deserve it. Don't wait for nobody else to do it. Make sure you do something little. It doesn't even matter. Teach yourself the Jersey Mike's. I don't care. Buy yourself a candle. I don't know. Buy yourself a Snicker bar. Whatever it is, do something nice for yourself because you deserve it. Y'all take care of yourself. I'll see you later.